Hey guys, welcome to DevOps School.
But before we begin, let me inform you few things about us. DevOps School is one of the leading platforms which offers DevOps, cloud and containers technology training and certification programs for freshers and established professionals who wish to update and consolidate their skills in the dynamic IT scenario. We ensure that the training solutions are delivered by highly experienced domain experts with practical working experience in various verticals. Check out the dates and enroll with us for our upcoming batches. For more info, link and contact details are mentioned in the description below.
Okay, so let us start the discussion with the design governance basically. So what governance is all about? Why governance is about Azure? First of the
Hello. Kun? The background noise comes from your side, Jitendra, or?
I think it's coming from my TV. Okay.
Oh, TV, okay. I thought Kun.
it is governance. Is there any specific reason? Can you tell me?
You. Kun?
We were not able to hear you just now. You
Why governance?
Just now we hearing.
From the
Can you hear us?
perspective of cloud or from the perspective of cloud, why governance is important here? And what kind of governance? Is it better? Hello?
can hear you now. Yeah.
You can hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kun, we can hear you now, but we haven't heard single word, until now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there is a complete power failure here. Still it is. So I just, connected by mobile. With one mobile, I am facing problem just connected with another. Okay.
Okay.
Now is it fine?
Now it's fine. Whatever you talked, we haven't heard single word. Yeah. Sorry
No
for that.
problem. No problem. I haven't talked anything because I just knew that there is some problem. Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So we were talking about one other thing. The first thing that is there, that is governance. Okay. Now let us talk from the perspective of you are as you mentioned, right, you are moving your whole infrastructure is moving from on-prem to cloud, right? Yeah, in your organization. Now from the perspective of that, okay, now so you have an on-prem thing that is there already, and then you are moving to cloud. From that perspective, for cloud, why governance has such a significance that this is the first chapter, this is the first topic of this whole syllabus? What is the reason behind it? Can you tell me from that perspective?
I believe most of them are, having a concern on that security about their data, all those things. So that's the reason they kept the first topic, I believe. Yeah, to clear out doubt.
Security data. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, before you start any infrastructure, right, you have to start with that goal in mind. How you're gonna, secure it, or how you're gonna manage it, and everything. So all these things will come into this picture. You can't build
Okay.
and even think about security. You have to, like, from the beginning you need to think about.
Okay. Fine. Okay. Now let us see. Means overall, when you say about your current scenario. So
Kun, one second. This meeting is recorded or?
yeah, it should be.
Yeah, I think I heard that notification is being recorded.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So overall, let us talk from that perspective. Okay. So basically, what I will focus on is that where you are exactly, and from that perspective, we will talk governance, and then we will have that. So now, in your current situation, when you are on prem, okay. So what is the case here? That you so a user, you as a user, right? And you want to use the infrastructure resources like machines and all, right? So for that, what you need to do is that there is another guy, another actor, and this guy is your IT administrator. Okay, so this guy is your admin here. So this guy is the admin guy. Okay, and you are the user here. Okay, so you are the user, this actor is an admin, and now your resources, your machines are like this. Okay, so it is like here you have your, you can say, a server, and you get a space there. When we talk about a virtual space maybe, or you have the different machines that are there. Okay, so is between this guy is between you, okay, and the resources. Okay, and this guy, what you do, how you communicate with this guy, that you send, you can say, mail maybe to this guy, or you have some internal system, right, like Snow or something. You raise a request, right, and you have some role associated, you are part of some team, right? So this guy, because he is internal to the organization, and all the systems which is there through which the you access for the resources is internal to that, and the size overall that this guy is manages, it scope of this admin is your organization only. That is the reason why the management of the resources is limited, is similar to the way the other management practices happened in an organization, like similar to the way when the way people is managed, similar to that way only the resources are managed. Okay, why? Because the scope is limited, number one, and then there is a kind of, you can say, uh, you can say manual intervention involved always, right? In any organizations there are manual interventions, they are there. So now when you talk about a cloud, right, when you say cloud here, right, now the cloud is there. Now you go to the cloud, now you need resources to that. Now this doesn't have any manual, right? This doesn't have any manual intervention. There is no one who is manually checking it for you, right? And you go to, say, Azure, you log into that, and then uh, if it is open, then you can use any number of resources, anything like that, if there is no governance, because there is no personal intervention that is there, that is stopping you. And that is the reason why the way this governance has to happen, there has to be special focus on governance, and that should be the part of you can say part of Azure overall, these practices and all, because that is important. Otherwise um, there are chances that resources are getting misutilized, there are chances that cost will be unlimited, and so on so forth. Mm, yeah, there will be security and all, multiple things. And the second thing is when I don't know, you have attempted AZ 900 overall, but in general, when we talk about Azure, we talked about shared responsibility, right? So Microsoft has some responsibility for the resources. He makes sure that regarding the resource availability, downtime, make sure that there will be almost negligible downtime, and so on and so forth. And it will provide you all the kind of tools overall. With that, you can make sure to have the setup the way that you need. Okay, but at the same time it gives you responsibility to do that, right? So overall, that is the reason why governance coming up as the first thing overall, and it has multiple aspects. Okay, so they talk about security, organization standard, multiple teams are working, multiple subscription to manage, multiple things are there, right? And all those things has to be, one of the important thing is that it we need to make sure that there is limited or no manual intervention in the whole process. Okay, okay, clear? This point is clear to you guys? Why governance, why this is important, why? I mean, this is the first thing, right? Why this is the first topic when you say about Azure architect course? This is the first thing, and this is the reason behind it. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kunal.
Okay, fine. Now, so what they have done, let us. I will just have a quick. I will not like to spend more time on that. We will just have to have a go through on the overall things, and I will try to find out some scenarios that is related to you, and we will discuss about it. What they are saying is that there is a company, and they are thinking about Azure, right? And what they are saying is that it's difficult to manage Azure environment and cost, and they are interested in like what are the things that Azure does. Okay, so when this is the first thing that came into any company's mind, that okay, I want to implement it, how to make sure that my environment is going to be secure, my cost will be in control, because there are so many employees. So now this is the thing. Then when Microsoft goes to them, this is the first thing that is being asked by the management, and who is deciding it, that okay, what you are providing, okay, for that. So the ease is important. So in this module they talked about governance, management group, subscription, and all those stuff. So let us move further on that. So what are the things that is there? What is the management design and all? Okay, let me go back to the diagram. So overall, when you see here, okay, so overall the lowest level, and this may be the repetition or something, but overall, yes, this is important. We will be quickly going through it because this is getting talked about throughout as part of uh, your this management. What are the different components of management? Okay, the lowest level is resources. Okay, so this is the lowest level. This has the virtual machine, this has the databases. In general, yeah, hello, hello, Am I audible?
Sorry, Kun, it was me.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so when we talk about the now what is going to be managed, okay, we talked about, okay, we are going to manage. What to manage? What is the real world entity there? When we talk about a cloud services or even your you can say on-prem, what is the real world entity? Real world entity are the resources, right? Your database server, your your machines, your system, right, that you are using, the hard drive, all those stuff, your network card, all these things are part of the resources, right? This all consist of that. So when we say that what you need to focus on is this, the resources. Okay, so in whole this cycle, whole this you can say graph, overall or diagram, or the actors which are there, the real world entities are resources. Okay, and then you have resource groups. Okay, so overall you might be aware, you might be knowing that within a resource group has one or more resources. Okay, so it's a what is resource group? It is a combination of resources overall. What is important here is that one resource cannot be part of two different resource groups. Okay, that is one thing that is important. Okay, we will see to this particular thing, but overall what can happen that, okay, with different resources are part of resource groups or can be part of the resource groups that are there. So this is the, you can say, first level, then this is the second level. Okay, now what is subscription overall in whole Azure? When you talk about billing, when you talk about cost, it is managed by subscription. Okay, your management group or resource group or your tenant group or resources in general is not something that is going to directly uh, you know uh, be managed as far as cost is concerned. Okay, so subscription, even you have the management group or tenant, so whatever we have used for the management purposes, overall the billing is managed by subscription. Okay, and then there are management groups under which different subscription are part of that. Do you guys know that what is the maximum level that a management group can have? So as for example, this is a hierarchy that there is a one management group. Within that, there are several other management group. So you can have an hierarchy of management groups. Okay.
No, I
Okay.
didn't.
Okay.
No.
Okay. 6 level of hierarchy is possible for management group. Okay.
Mhm.
And this is something that has hierarchy involved here. We will talk about it. But overall, and then there are Azure policies. Okay, Azure policies and practices, and then RBAC, role based access control. Now what RBAC is, have you ever used? Can you give example of RBAC, what it is basically, from the terminologies of access? What RBAC means, can you tell?
I mean, based on the admin role, like some people are only read only, like for monitoring. Some people are admin who has full access. Some people have access only to specific resources or ability to modify only certain resources.
Correct,
So,
absolutely.
so there is a
So
user, and then you assign a role to it, which gives specific rights.
correct. What
Kund, I have
that,
one question
yeah,
about the subscription. So subscription are the billing units, right? On
Billing
which
units.
Azure bills you. So let's
Correct.
say I'm a big organization, or maybe a medium-sized one, okay? And like instead of organizing it through subscription, why can't I have like, okay, one subscription, but then I create multiple resource group. Now, though under those resource groups, I'm organizing maybe my business units and all. Like, why would I want to have multiple subscription? Maybe I'm able to manage billing at, let's say I have only one subscription for my whole company, and then under that I have resource group based for each application or each business unit,
Hmm.
and like that I have resources into them. So
Correct.
what benefit would I get like if I have multiple subscription? Do you think it's because maybe I don't know? Yeah.
Yeah.
What would be the reason I
Correct.
want to have multiple?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So overall, right. So there are in an IT organization. Okay. There are different kind of IT needs within different department. Okay, and both all the departments work separately, right? It's like HR is one department, maybe you have the cloud services, means DevOps, cloud services team, or infra team is one department. Different department has different kind of IT needs. As for example, the kind of devices that you need as a software developer is not needed by someone who is an HR guy. As for example, in my organization, I have minimum two systems, right? When I go to my workspace, one is my workspace. In my workspace, I cannot install softwares and all. Okay, we are very limited. Okay, I cannot do my programming there. Okay, so what I get is I have a subscription, maybe in all the, you can say, developers have a subscription access to that we have a developer desktop. Okay, so it's Azure virtual machine that we get, and and there is a cost involved, definitely, per day, maybe whatever they cost, maybe monthly 6,000 or 7,000, that cost to them. Now that need is not there for HR team. Okay, so that budgeting is not needed for them, maybe. So overall, you need to bifurcate your budget, otherwise it will be kind of unmanaged kind of stuff, where the cost is going and where you need to spend more on IT infrastructure, where you need to spend less on our IT infrastructure. So for that perspective, you need to have a kind of that. And right, different department has, if it is a big organization as you mentioned, different department has different budgets. It has different budget for IT, it has different budget for people, it has different budgets for different stuffs, right? So that's why the subscription is there, because overall organization works in this way. Not only that, even in IT, within an IT there can be different teams which has different kind of resource requirements. How we will manage it, how we will manage the cost out of it, and that is the
So
reason
this
why.
is like purely from the cost management perspective. You
Purely
can
from the
track it.
cost, that's correct. Exactly.
Okay. So let's say like
Correct.
Yeah,
if cost is not a concern here, then I can maybe have like multiple like not, because then I can only have one management group, right? Because under that there's only one subscription, but I can have multiple resource groups and allow to manage it that way. Okay.
Uh, we cannot say that cost is, means it's not possible, right? Cost is always a
Okay.
concern, number one, because you see, resource can be misutilized, maybe, as for example, say I today I was taking a session on Kubernetes cluster. Okay, and within that I created 10 different virtual machines and all. Now if cost is the not means, if I will, if the management is not there, because it is personal, because so there is no management or something, no setup is there, I have used it for demo. But if I will leave it whole day, I have taken that session in the morning and done it for 2 hours, after that I don't need those 10 virtual machine. if I will not kill it overall, or if you will not, have a kind of a setup where, if from in my case I'm killing it manually, but organization cannot manage like that. Okay, so think from that perspective that 10 devices unnecessarily getting used for 10-12 hours, and it is pay per go. At the end of the day, my billing is say $100, right? uh, and there will be impact on that, right? So overall, yes, cost is always a concern, uh, or even not, right? Why organization will spend on unnecessarily spend on machines which is misused? Instead of that, it will use the same amount of money to pay you, right? It
Right.
cannot be open ended, right? So if it is in the market, it is there for that. So definitely it is in the business, cost is going to be the concern, and it is needed to be make sure that in comparison to now what is the things that happen. The second thing, in your current scenario, you are moving from on-prem to cloud. When you will talk about cost benefit analysis, when you will talk about ROI, you have this figure definitely will come in mind. That is cost benefit analysis. What is cost we are spending? We were there in uh, our own on-prem thing, and if the cost is much more in cloud, why we will use it? We will go to the on-prem way because there is more control, obviously there is more security, obviously. You cannot on-prem is much more secure. Why you are moving to that? Why? Because it has more flexibility, and then you need to think about pay as you go. You can shut down the things. It can be shared across multiple things are there, and that is the reason why you are moving to cloud. So yes, overall, hope
Yeah.
this answers, right? Overall.
Yeah,
uh,
this does. Yeah. Thank you.
okay,
Kunz,
fine.
I have seen that there are separate subscription for dev environment, separate for prod environment. Can't we mix, or why they are keeping like that? I understand that. Okay, dev licensing is half the price of that production license, I mean production usage. Can you give some details about it?
Yeah, sure. So overall, right, when I talked about that in my organization, we have a developer desktop. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I cannot do my development on my workspace where I work, right? So
Mm-hmm.
overall, I go to Azure. I need to spin up a virtual machine there. For that, which is allocated to me. So only one virtual machine is allocated to me for now, right? Apart from my workspace. And for that, I have to do. Well, we will talk about that multiple things overall. Overall, the question is that at the end of the day, okay, the virtual machine goes down. There is a regular refresh, okay, and either I have to automatically it goes down by 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whatever the time they have, it goes down. And why? Because it's like it's the end of the day in general, and organization thinks that I should not be working post that. I may not be working post that. Yes, I can spin up again, but it goes down on daily basis. Now, can this happen with production system? No, right? It has to be running 24/7, right? Think about a kind of a mission critical system. Any production, it is a production, it has to be 24/7. So overall, when you talk about that, you have a valid reason for higher cost. Why? Because it needs to be up and running always. Okay, it has a kind of a consistency. Okay, in comparison to that, development environment can go down after the office hours. Maybe it can go down. There is no impact on that, right? Because it doesn't need to be up and running always. So there are different kind of needs, right? And that's why for different needs, and it's like, yes, you have seen this case, this happens somewhere, this doesn't happen somewhere, but this is one of the reason why, there are separate kind of subscription for dev, for prod, for test. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it means you
Raj, you
can
were
mix you, you can mix all the environment in one, but it's not recommended to have, correct?
uh, yeah, it's when we talk about this policies and principles, right? If and that is the reason why they don't have a kind of strict adherence or guidelines, or otherwise Azure would have done it. So there is nothing like, you know, strict on that. It is, there is nothing like one size fit all kind of thing here. Yes, there are some suggestions and all based on your needs. As for example, you have a small team of say 100 people. In that case, you can work with one subscription always, right? Because even developers and machines are like 30 40, or maybe 5 6 7, whatever, it depends upon your project. And there is only one production system across. Okay, so in those cases you can have you know, one subscription for all maybe. uh, and maybe in a case when you have a very big organization, there are 20 30 different teams in one project, and they are working separately, they are clubbing together, they work across the geographical time zone, that your development is going on 24/7. In those cases your need and your production needs are kind of same, right? The example that I provided, that okay, development system will not be needed post working hour, but that is not true. When you have developer in India, you have developer in America, you have developer in say in Hong Kong. In those cases your development is going on 24/7, and that's what that happens in real world, right? So in those cases, if you have a kind of a squeeze team, not that big team, but all are working 24/7 maybe across the board, across the world, in that cases you may have same subscription. So it entirely depends upon your organization, and that's why architecture comes into picture, right? That's why we are having a session on DevOps, means what you need to do in this particular situation, and that's why we will have different kind of case studies. We will see to it that okay, what you will do in this case, what kind of strategy you will take in this case. If this is the scenario, what you will do. So yes, the answer to your question is it varies. Yes, across the board there is no hard line rule that is there. Yes, the best practices are there, but it varies from organization to organization.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
So, Raj, you were referring to the dev one. You were referring to dev test lab, or you just referring to a subscription which developers are using?
No, when we go to Azure Calculator, there is an option when we check that this is for development, and the cost will be reduced. That means the SLA also get reduced, and so that's why I'm asking that.
Okay, because there's a service called Azure Dev Test Lab. So, okay, maybe that is
Yeah,
the one. Okay.
no, not that one. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, so overall we talked about that. So there are management groups. So you manage access policy and compliance for multiple subscription. Then subscription logical container. Okay, so it's a container. What it does, that management in scale are billing boundaries. Okay, so that is very important term, that when subscription it has its billing overall. And the second thing, it is a container. Why? Because all the resources comes under that container, comes under that subscription. That is the reason why. Your resource group are logical containers, which Azure resources are deployed and managed. So it has its thing. So this is the next thing, and resource is the smallest unit. We talked about it, like your virtual machine, your resources, your database and all. So this thing we have done. One thing that is important that will come out from this particular thing, the tenant group is the kind of, whenever you and your organization purchases Azure, takes Azure as a service, that top level, there is tenant root group. It is kind of organization level. And there will be only one tenant root group. Okay, so your organization is a tenant. So this is the first thing that will happen, that there will be a tenant root group that will be there. Okay, so everything will come within that. Okay, anyways, let us talk about that. So within that tenant root group there are management groups. Okay, so basically, as the name suggests, right, this is the kind of, when we talk about governance, right, the biggest role that anything that comes that plays is the management group. Okay, so when we talk about governance, the most important, according to me, that is your, you can say, management group. So all the policies and everything is kind of that. Okay, so and it has, this management group has, you can say, parent, you can say what is called inheritance property in general. Okay, so the child inherits all the policies and everything that is there from the parent. And as we mentioned, as for example here, this management group has its policy, and within management group there can be multiple other management group. Okay, so whoever is the parent or child within this will inherit all those policies, all those rules associated with its parents. So overall, child, there is an inheritance property associated with this, in Azure. So all the child, in any case, in general, child is we inherit all the policies of the parent overall. This thing we mentioned that this has 6 level of depth. Okay, excluding the root level. Okay, and by default, and when you say the subscription, so by default, when you say default case, your subscription will be the part of the root, root management group. So subscription can be directly part of this particular management group overall. So yes, we talked about best practices, and these are, you can say, things to consider when creating management groups. Overall, these are the, you can say, kind of guidelines or something when we will create a management group. Okay, so the first thing is that the governance, the way your, overall your governance is going to happen. And as I mentioned, this is a kind of a main building block as far as governance is concerned. Okay, uh, so they have mentioned, hierarchy, though it provides 6 level of hierarchy in management group, but think about how complex things will become if it will have 6 level of hierarchy. Okay, so that is the reason why they say that, okay, make it flat, maximum 2 level or 3 level of hierarchy that should be there. Okay, so that it will be easier to manage. That's okay, they mentioned about that. I think it will be kind of, overall you got an idea about it. Go through it. Overall, the conceptually, these are the things that is there as part of the management group overall. Let us move to the design of subscription. um, yeah, not that much that we will spend time. Okay, so now this is the point that you talked about, perhaps
Yeah.
Raj talked. So this is right. You say that there is a dev subscription, and then there is a test subscription, and there is a production subscription, right? So these are kind of different ways the subscription are getting managed. And one of the thing that, as you mentioned, there are different billing environment, right, like development, test, and production. So it is based on the environment, or subscription can be based on the, you can say, organizational unit, like HR for, sales. Different teams has different, subscription limit. And we discussed about this point as well, right, that why, why there is no, uh, there is a need of, why we will not go for one subscription. Okay, so there can be subscription at this, you can have. And again, the policies, you can have the policies at the subscription level as well. Okay, so basically, why policy is there? Because uh, of the, you can say, managing it well, kind of, right? So overall, that is the reason why at different level you can have the policies associated with it. Okay. And they again, there is a kind of things that we can consider during the what are the best practices, or based on your need, what you are going to do. So these are the best practices that they talk about. Okay. Like as for example, uh, you have a department, as for example, it's working on GitLab, as for example, right? And you have a different kind of, you have a runners you will need to run your continuously. You will need runners to run your pipeline overall. So you need the different kind of, you can say, policies there, right? So up and running based on that. So based on your infrastructure need and all that, so you will have your policy associated in that way. Okay. So as for example, there can be a shared subscription, right? uh, Across the network. As for example, you can say virtual network, and through that you want to create a kind of your all the within the organization. Let us take an example. When I say that I have a machine workspace to which I log into my, to my working environment. Now this thing is a common across, right? Because all the employees of my organization will need a workspace, right? And because of this COVID thing, we all are on cloud. So we have a kind of a, one machine allocated to all of us 24/7, where we will be logging into the uh, our organization's network. And it is a kind of a virtual network across the board for whole the organization. And at the same time, that has to be up and running always, because it is across. Now for these kind of scenarios, you need to have a shared subscription. You cannot make it department wise, that okay, for this department, for all department you need one machine for the resources to work on. So these kind of, and then you will have all those these kind of shared resources will be part of this subscription. So that is what that can happen. So there are like scaling limits. As for example, you are working on big data, as for example, right, where you need a huge number of devices and all, and you are working with a terabytes and of data every time. That in that particular case, you need a kind of a subscription which can scale up to that limit. Okay. So that needs a different kind of subscription. So, and then there are different administrative management, HR, legal. So they do not need that kind of, we talked about that, they do not need that kind of, you can say, 24/7 subscription, and kind of a very complex kind of subscription which say, you know uh, 1 terabyte hard drive need or something. They need a kind of a, when you talk about AWS free tier kind of thing, for them free tier is enough. Okay. But if you are a developer, you need an AWS instance with say 8 GB RAM or 16 GB RAM maybe. So it depends upon your need and all that. So different depending upon that. uh, and you consider the policies, network and all. So different things are getting considered. As far as one thing that I use this term as well, once I doesn't fit all the subscription. So based on that, and in exam you are going to have these kind of case studies. Okay, what you will do in this situation? Okay, what will happen if this is a scenario? And we will see at the end of this particular uh, kind of session. At the end of that, we will see a kind of a case study. We will see a case study where we have this. Guys, clear till now overall? Are you getting whatever we are discussing?
Yeah, Kunja. It's clear so far.
Okay, good. Now, one of the things that is important when you talk about resource group, one of the things that is important is, let us see resource groups. So resource group, when you say that, okay, you might have heard about a reason, right? So maybe within a resource group, okay, there will be multiple resources. Okay, this is a kind of very interesting thing and important to understand. Within a resource group, there there will be multiple you can say resources. Let us take virtual machines. So multiple virtual machines will be there. These virtual machines can be part of different regions. As for example, you know, this is say US region. So US Virginia maybe region, and this is in say Singapore. Possible. Within a resource group, there can be resources which are in different regions. This is possible. But resource group has its own reason. Okay, resource group has its own reason. What is the reason of the resource group? The so when you say the metadata, right, it is a kind of a configuration data related to the resource group. Okay, as for example, what are the devices that comes under the resource group? Or you can say, yeah, so allocation of the devices within that. So those kind of data, the configuration data is called metadata. Okay, and the reason where that metadata is stored is the reason of the resource group. Okay, so the resource group and these resources can be part of different reason. What is the reason of the resource group? The reason of the resource group is the reason where its metadata is kept. Okay, its metadata is kept. Okay, and this what is the reason of this particular you can say resource or virtual machine is the place where the physical device is stored, is the data center where the physical device is stored, and this resource group and this resource can be part of different region, number one, and these two resources which are the part of the one particular resource group can be from different regions. Is this clear?
Yeah, Kunja, it's a good you know thing to know. Like, okay, a resource group. I always had this question, but I never got maybe I never tried it. But this
Yeah.
is good thing to know.
Okay, so now let us go back to the points that they mentioned. Resource group have their own location region assigned. This region is where the metadata is stored. This is what I mentioned. If the resource group's region is temporarily unavailable, as for example, the region is down, right? What will happen? You cannot update the resources. Why? Because the configuration is there with that. So you cannot like delete the device or you cannot make changes in the device. Okay. So what will happen? The next question that comes is, what will happen? What is the number one is what is the reason of resource group where metadata is stored? Number two is what will happen? The reason of the resource group is down. Will the devices go down? No, they will not. They will continue because it has nothing to do with that with the devices. Metadata is not available. You cannot update resources. Okay. You cannot delete, you cannot update the resources. So the resources will function as expected, but you can't update them. Again, number one point, resources and resource group can be from different reasons. The reason of resource group is the reason where its metadata is stored. In case the reason in which resource group is down, it means that you cannot update the resource. Your resource will be up and running, or whatever the state is, that state will remain. Okay. Resources in the resource group can be in the different regions. I mentioned this. A resource can connect to resources of other resource groups, right? So as for example, this is interesting. Now this is interesting. Let us talk about it. Let's talk about this particular thing.
So that means we can't control the placement of the resource group, correct? The metadata.
What do you mean by the placement of that? Means when you define a
There is
resource
no
group,
placement. There is no placement, right? It's a metadata. It's been created anywhere.
in a particular reason, from where the resource group is. When you define a resource group, there will be a reason you will define at the time of creation of that. So
Okay.
what that reason will mean that the reason where its metadata will be stored. So you have control at the time of creation of it.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, that's why you will know, right? When we say that, what is the reason of resource group? So what it means basically, a reason where a reason where its metadata is stored, and you have control, right? When you are defining a resource group, you set a reason there. What it means,
Yeah.
this is what it means. Okay.
Okay. Okay. It's
Now,
a
yeah,
piece of metadata. It's a piece of metadata where all the resources are located. If it is not available, then not a problem. Only thing is you can't create, edit, modify, actions.
can you come again? It's a piece of
Yeah.
metadata. Can you
It's a piece of metadata about the resources has been deployed underneath. And in case if resource group is not available, you are not able to modify, delete, or create any resources underneath, correct? As you mentioned.
you cannot do that. That's correct. You
Yeah.
cannot
Yeah. Correct.
create, delete, and that. It's a kind of a
Yeah.
configuration, right? It's a kind of your config file, that what are the configuration that is there. It's a, in development term, think about a config file. Okay, so if config
Yeah.
file is gone,
Got it.
okay. Now we were talking about one of the important concept here. Let us, okay. Now there is one resource group, and say there are, yeah. So what I'm trying to do is that there is a, you can say resource groups and different devices are part of that group. Now it is possible, like this is you can say, you can have in an application, you can have your databases, right? Database is there, okay, and this database resource group, as for example, so this resource group has different machines and which is acting as a database, as for example, and then you have another resource group. Kati la liya? 10 minutes. Okay. So now you have I'm trying with the diagram. Let me try. Maybe something. Now you have a different resource group where application is there, right? And this has, your application is up and running, and then definitely there is a need of communication to and fro between your application and your database. Okay. So maybe something like that. Okay. Not exactly. Maybe there is a need of communication between this your application and your DB. Let me use it. Okay. Now, what I want to show here is there is a resources of different resource groups can communicate with each other. Okay. So this is what the point here is. This is what, as for example, you have the different resource groups, and those resources can communicate with each other. Management group, we talked about management group, we talked about subscription. We talked about resource groups. Okay, so the point where resource can connect to resource in other resource groups. This is what I have shown. For example, you can have a web app that connects to a database in different resource groups. Okay, so again, and here in this case I have shown database and application separately. That is possible that there is an app and databases are the part of different application resource groups, and then they can connect. That is also a possibility. Resources can be moved between resource groups. That is a possibility, right? You can move the resource from one, so you can change the resource group of a particular resource. So that is possibility. You can add anytime resource group can't be nested. This is important, right? You cannot have, as for example, you can say management, right? When you talk about this particular term here, right, you had the management groups, and management group was nested, right? there there are 6 different levels possible within management group. That is not possible in resource group. Okay. Subscription, there cannot be subscription within. Subscription cannot be nested. Resources cannot be nested. The only thing that can be nested is management group. Why they talked about that resource group cannot be nested? Because the name is here again group. That's why uh, they have specifically mentioned that. You will not get confused by that. You cannot have resource group within a resource group. So that's what that means, that resource group cannot be nested, and each resource must be in one and only one resource group. Okay, so resources cannot be shared across resource group. Okay, so now they talked about consider group by type. So they talked about some best practices, right? Like SQL, or the example that I have shown, and or different types of application, departments, and they talked about different strategies that you can do. And here again, as I said, throughout this process, we have seen that there is no kind of one size fits all. They talk about, whenever they talk about different possibilities, they talk about different scenarios where this can happen. Okay,
Hello.
I think we lost him again.
I could see he's in airplane mode.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Me?
We can.
Okay. Yeah. There is basically a yeah. Okay. There was today, though the network is back, but I don't want to retry it. So that it will again take some time. Okay, but anyways, let us talk a bit on tagging. Okay, so can you give an example where tagging comes into picture? Maybe from real life example. Why you tag something,
I
or
mean, I'll give
in if you can think about your IT.
we have we have a very good example
Yeah.
actually. So our we have a firewall in on-premises. Okay, that does uh, this policy management. All the firewall rules and everything is tag based. Let's say I have an application. All the application VMs are tagged with certain tags. Like, okay, this is the application name, this is the environment they're part of, prod, not prod, and based on that, appropriate policies get applied to them. Firewalls. We don't use like IP addresses at all. It's all based on tags. So firewalls.
Correct.
So I mean, that is one way.
Correct. Good example. Any other example? Anyone? This was Rajsekharan, right?
Yeah.
Jitendra. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
was actually
So I
Jitendra.
mean.
Okay, this was Rajsekharan. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, tags can be, for example, if you want to classify into the multiple areas. For example, even the backup also, you don't need to add each single system, to the backup. Just classify the tags, and you just classify the tags in the backup. This is what I need to backup. So based on the tags, it go and search it, and it will backup. So wherever you want, you can use the tags wherever the thing. It's easy way of management, and also it differentiate that this is into the production, this is into non-prod, and who's the cost center, all those things, different classifications you can put into that one. Kind
Correct.
of filtering
Exactly.
also I can say that, yeah.
Exactly. One more example is that in a CI/CD pipeline, as for example, say GitLab or any pipeline where you are using some runners, right, to run, maybe uh, uh, for you can say Docker container, right, for running, a particular, application. For that purpose, you have multiple runners are there, right? So in case one runner is not available, then based on the tagging, right, another runner will be used. So the runner with one tag, and then in pipeline you mention the tag, right? So when you develop your CI/CD pipeline, you mention, okay, that the tag as well. So based on that tag, runner tagged with that particular, say um, tag will be picked. So I can mention that tag as part of the pipeline, or I can mention the tag as part of a script. So this way you can, the resources can be optimally utilized and will be picked as well, and can be shared across as well, right? Whatever that is free, and that is the advantage, right? When you talk about uh, cloud, right, it is like more on the ultimate utilization. Why? Because it has to be automated. It can be automated. You can, based on tag, you can move from one device to another, and it will not be like that one particular runner is getting used continuously and another is free. So to make sure that you have the utilization of maximum bandwidth, you use tagging there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that is important here is that you can tags cannot be cascaded down. As for example, you can tag a resource group. Also, you can tag resources, you can tag resource group. But that property of inheritance that we talked about when we talked about policy, we said that, okay, policies will be inherited by child from its parent. But in case of resource group, yes, you can tag it, but that tagging will not be cascaded down. Okay, that is important. It will not be inherited by its resources. So mostly when you talk tag, resources and all, it will not be inherited by its child. So that is one of the thing that is important here. Point. Others are fine, you can have that, and they have given an example. You have where you can tag and all these things. So I'm just focusing on the areas, then things that you can go read and all that, that's okay. You can have the concept overall, you can have it. But overall I'm focusing on some scenarios where, okay, this is the thing that you need to think about more, and and come out of the scenarios. Okay, consider it requires tagging, keep in mind and all that. Okay, so you can go through it. So now let us move up, because today are you fine if we can go for 5 more minutes, because we had a kind of shortened class due to my internet issues, maybe 5-7 minutes we lost. Okay, so you guys are
Yep.
fine, or 5-7 minutes just to cover up? Yeah, I just want
Fine with
to
me.
kind of finish with kind of one logical unit, so that tomorrow you can go through it, we can discuss further a bit on that, and then we can have a go to the next module.
Sure.
Okay. Now the next thing that is the policy. Okay, so yes, we talked about some of the thing, right? Policies are the set of rules mostly, right? So it will like one of the thing that is important that are inherited down the hierarchy. So what I will suggest, whenever you kind of that one the just there are kind of you can say materials which is there, not that much, but some of the point that is important, you need to note it down, maybe somewhere, at least have some kind of quick things that can help you. Azure policy evaluates your resources and highlight resources that aren't compliant with the policies you are created. So overall you can say more on the compliance part when you have your particular resource is not following the rules within your so kind of that. So how to signal out the resources which is not following the policy that your particular thing have. So kind of a compliance. Okay, so Azure policy can prevent non-compliant resources from being created. Okay, so this is one thing in itself. You cannot create based on if it as for example, if your organization policy is saying that any virtual, you cannot create a virtual machine with more than 8 GB of RAM. You cannot do that. It is policy. Okay, so now it will prevent you when even and that prevention happens. It can be prevention or it can be detection further. So it depends on the policy that is created. It can be at the time of creation only. So when you are creating a resource, it cannot you cannot create resource with more than 8 GB under a particular subscription, maybe. So that limitation at the time of creation as well. Okay, the second thing is that, okay, if not at the time of creation, there may be some kind of you can say policy breach that can happen during runtime. Maybe what can happen during runtime, as for example, you want to install a particular software on the virtual machine, and maybe what happens, let us take an example again with my organization. In the virtual machine that we have on my desktop, for I cannot keep, policy says that I should save all those my document on GitHub, or even development documents, everything has to be on GitHub. I should not keep anything on my virtual machine because it can go down anytime. It doesn't take its backup and all. So the policy is this, that okay, you should not do that, and this is the way the policy has to be designed, and you should keep all your development work on daily basis, your backup and everything on before going to home to Git repo, GitHub, and then you should take the latest and then you can use, and then again once you go, you move it, all those you do the push to the Git repo. You are not doing it. You are just keeping it on your documentation on your local. Fine. One fine day, after 10 days, you come, you open your developer desktop and everything is gone. Now you go to your Azure admin guy and everyone, that why this is gone. He says that there is a policy and that there is that implementation. Yes, at the runtime we haven't stopped you because you are going to do some temporary work, right, on that particular day. If I will not allow you to keep document on desktop, then how you are going to work? We have to provide you a kind of a time frame where you can keep your work there on your local machine, but we cannot provide you 2 weeks of time or 10 weeks of. We need to we have a policy that we do the cleanup, we reset all the things which is there on desktop after every 15 days maybe, or 7 days, whatever it is there with. So this kind of thing is called runtime policy that is there. So this is important. So remediate non-compliant resource. So integrates with Azure DevOps by applying pre-deployment and policies and all that. We'll think about that. So things to consider, they have mentioned them policies and all, and again go through it. Overall, these are the basic things that what you need to consider. We will maybe there are certain things we will talk later on, maybe specific to RBAC and all. So next thing is role-based access. Overall, because let us continue our discussion. I don't want to do a lot of things in a day. There are still 1-2 parts left, but I don't want to stretch our session too much so that we will not be able to grasp the things. We will not be able to discuss, and we all will be waiting for the session to end. So instead of that, let us talk about, let us finish it off today. What I want you guys is that go through this whole set of that 11 units. Give me 1 minute. Let me connect. Okay. Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay. So now let us design governance. Okay. So what the now what you need to do before the next session is go through this design governance part. Okay. At anything that if you have a confusion or anything, but go through this whole thing. It will the time that they suggested is 33 minutes. So you spend that 33 minutes. That is one thing that you have to do. And then if anything comes, we can discuss about that particular area. At the end of that, there is a knowledge check. Okay. So do that knowledge check. There are 4 questions. Very good questions. So basically it will give you a kind of an idea where you are. So do that knowledge check. That is one thing. So overall 33 minutes is spent on that. And then This is design, authentication and authorization solution. This is again 36 minutes. Okay, so 33 plus 36. This consists of around 1 hour. So just go through that, have a reading, casual reading, that's okay. Even if you will not understand, or you kind of you think that you cannot remember things, doesn't matter, you don't need to cram thing around. You just need to kind of just go through, do a kind of a casual reading of this particular thing. Okay, just spend that time that is mentioned here, 36 minutes. Okay, so overall you spend 1 hour for this thing. First thing that you, this first part you need to go through a bit detail, just read it, try try to understand overall whatever that is there. If you have any question, note it down, we will have a discussion on that, and then go through the second module. Is that fine? Can you do it?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah, just two
Yeah.
module I said, two things, two modules I said. So go through it. At any point of time, one of the rules that we have, I will like to have is, we can cut down on, okay, we can say no, we will do just one module, that's okay. Okay, second module we will not be able to do, or maybe we will be able to do that, but whatever we will final that, okay, just go through it. Okay, because it is ultimately we need to appear for certification, right? So and we have a time bound. So before we will finish the course only when you will pass the certification, kind of that. Okay, so it's not like we will finish it and then you will plan after 15 days or something. It will not happen like that. We need to plan the certification in during the course of the session. Okay, so this is the plan, and that has to be before 31st of March for sure. Okay, so that's why I said whatever that we plan to complete, we need to complete it. I am fine if you can just do one module, that's okay, it's your pace. But once we decide that no, we will do this, we will have to finish it. Is it fine? Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine. Maybe in that case, let's target for one module for tomorrow and
Yeah, today's
see
module, that's
how
fine.
much
Today
time it
module,
takes.
today's module, one module, that's fine. That's what I'm saying. Instead
Hmm.
of thinking about too many things together, do one thing. But whatever we decide, half an hour, okay, I'm fine with that. Whatever we decide, we need to finish it. Okay, in
Sure.
that way
Got it.
we will be kind of in line, and we will keep motivated. Otherwise, right, we may keep missing things and it will create problem. Ultimately the goal is simple: we need to pass the exam. And this is not, believe me, this is not that easy exam. Neither 104 or not 305. Not that easy. You need to uh, uh, start thinking out of the box. Whatever scenario, you need to be very clear about the concept, because they will give one pager scenarios, and based on that you need to answer. And mostly it looks like all answers are same, kind of that. Even getting kind of 80% if you will target, it is uh, it is really they will give you a long scenarios. It will not be like one line objective kind of question. It will not be like that. So that's why we need to work kind of whatever we plan, right? We need to spend that time. 1 hour, that's okay, we will do. That's why I plan for daily sessions. Okay, and okay, so
Yeah.
let us continue
Sounds good.
tomorrow, and let us continue from the point that we left. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, sounds good. We'll read
Sure.
this module.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Glenn. Have a good day. Bye.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.
Hello everyone. If you would like to access the remaining videos of this playlist of 50 plus more tools which are coming under DevOps, DevSecOps, SRE, DataOps, GitOps, etc., kindly become our channel members by clicking on the joining button. You would have access to 100s of playlists and 1000s of videos lifetime access with this membership. Enjoy.